Hello and welcome to the Ellenmade Book Club. Today I'm doing the Counting the Days tag, which was created by two readers it may concern and Prose and Petticoats. And I was tagged to do this by Pat at Book Chat with Pat, and then also by Emily at the Linguist's Library. So thank you so much for tagging me, and let's get into the questions. So this tag is all about books that you were excited to read for different reasons. And the first question is, what is a book that excites you because of its cover? I mean, there are so many, and I am definitely a person who is influenced by a pretty cover. So, I mean, there are probably a bunch of books on my shelves that I'm excited to read because of their cover. But I'm gonna go with Masquerade by O.O. Sangoyomi. I mean, the cover is just stunning to me. Like, there's elephants and gold and a woman in a beautiful dress of some kind. I love everything about this cover. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It looks like a poster to me. So this is a mythological retelling set in 15th century West Africa, and it just sounds as good as the cover looks. On Goodreads, it says, it's a dazzling lyrical tale exploring the true cost of one woman's fight for freedom and self-discovery and the lengths she'll go to secure her future. I think that sounds fantastic. There are warrior kings and kidnappers and riches, and I don't know, there are just lots of different things in this, and it sounds really good, and the cover is really beautiful. And so yeah, that's my answer for the first question. What is a book that excites you because of its author? And for this one, I'm gonna say two. The first one is Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. I might not have picked this up based on like the cover. The premise, I think, sounds really good. It's about a woman who is about to turn 30, and she is a witch, but she hasn't been using her magical powers. But then as she's about to turn 30, her coven summons her and says, if you don't get your magic act together, you're gonna lose your powers. That sounds really good to me, but I'm mostly buying it because it's written by Lucy Wood, who is a YouTuber that I've been watching for years and years and years, and I just love her personality and her humor, and I think she's gonna be a really good writer. I'm just really excited to read the story that she's written. I think it's gonna be funny and probably emotional and like heart-wrenching or heartwarming or something along those lines. It's a contemporary fantasy magic something with a female character, and so what's not to love about that? The other one that I am going to mention is Whispering Shadows by Jan Philip Sentker. I'm excited to read this because I read The Art of Hearing Heartbeats by the same author and really loved that. This is set in Burma, and it's very atmospheric and heartwarming and very beautiful story that I really enjoyed reading. And so when I found this one secondhand recently, I picked it up immediately because of the author. And this is more of a thriller story. It's set in China. There's a journalist who is grieving his son and a woman who is looking for her son that's missing. And they join forces to try and solve this mystery. And there's the underworld of Hong Kong and the Chinese police and things. And yeah, it sounds really interesting, but I'm mostly excited because of who wrote it. What is the book that excites you because of its premise? I'm gonna have two answers for this one as well. The first one is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. I know this is very well read and well loved, and I'm very intrigued by it. Something about a group of women being trapped in some sort of cage or room or something, and not knowing why or how they ended up there, and that intrigues me a lot, and so I'm very excited to read that, and I don't want to know anything more about it, but I'm just very intrigued by that premise. And then the other one is a book that I recently purchased, which is Bird Eye by Judith Hennigan. This is set in a commune in upstate New York, and there is a man called Connor who shows up and is a stranger and wants to stay there. And then there's a woman called Liv, who is 67-year-old mother, cancer survivor, and founder of this once pilgrimage-worthy colony, now well past its heyday. And it's about tolerance, the choices we make in good faith, and ultimately what they cost. And I just think the premise of this sounds super interesting. I'm very intrigued by the fact that it's set in a commune. And I'm also very intrigued by this meeting a stranger, having faith in them, and then what the consequences of that might be. I'm very intrigued. It's a very simple premise in that sense, but yeah, the setting and the way it's described makes me very excited to read this book. What is a book that excites you because of its style? And for this one, I'm gonna say The Appeal by Janice Hallett. I don't really know much of the story, but it's a murder mystery thrillery kind of book, I think, but it's told entirely through like text messages and emails and letters and I don't know, articles. Like there's no narrative in that sense. It's just these like different pieces of texts from in different mediums, and that seems very interesting to me. It's kind of like a murder mystery, and you just get the pieces of evidence and try to figure it out from there. And I've heard it's very well done, and that there is a story to follow, even though it's just these like different pieces of texts. I think it might be the first of a series, and yeah, that's one that I'm very excited about because of its style. What is a book that you're excited about because of its influence? I've thought a bit about this, and I can't really think of a book that I'm excited to read because of its influence in like literature or in society or things like that. I guess I would have said 1984 by George Orwell a month ago, but now I've read that now. And yeah, I'm just not a very big like classics reader. So my answer for this is going to be The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. And I'm not maybe very excited to read it because of itself, but I'm more excited to read it so that I can read James by Percival Everett. And I've heard that Huckleberry Finn can be a bit challenging because of like the different dialects and things. And so I might read a summary of some kind or a translated version in Swedish. So maybe that will help me understand a bit better, and so I won't get caught on those things. But yeah, I mainly just want to know the story of that so that I can get to James later this year. Because yeah, I really want to read that. What is a book that excites you because of its emotional weight? Most of the books that I read have some emotional weight, and that's definitely a factor for me when I choose what books to read. I want there to be some emotional depth, and I'm definitely drawn to the darker themes. But I wouldn't say I get excited about emotional weight. I'm not looking to be devastated. I want to be moved, but not like completely destroyed. I'm not really excited or even interested in reading A Little Life, for example. I don't want to do that to myself, I don't think. But one that I did think of that I would like to read is Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason, which I have heard good things about. It's a contemporary fiction novel about a woman or a couple, and it deals with depression, anxiety. I'm expecting that to be emotional, possibly also funny, or maybe I'm confusing that with another book. I'm not really sure. But yeah, that's one that I'm excited to read, and I think it's going to have some emotional weight. What is the book that excites you because of its sense of humor? I had a pretty hard time finding books for this prompt because, like I said, most of the books that I read are more on the emotionally deeper side. But I did come up with 3 books that I'm actually excited to read because they're supposed to be funny, and I'm very intrigued. And the first one is My Sister the Serial Killer by Oinkan Braithwaite. This is about a woman whose sister is a serial killer. It's set in Nigeria. It says it's delightfully naughty and sharp, explosive, hilarious. It sounds like dark humor and some interesting family dynamics, and yeah, that's one that I'm excited to read because of its sense of humor. And then the next one is a book by Fredrik Backman called Britt-Marie Was Here. I really enjoyed the sense of humor in A Man Called Ove, and so I'm expecting something similar in this one, and just the perspective on Swedish culture, I guess. There's a quote on the back about how Backman makes us laugh about the things that are typically Swedish, like our fear of conflict, our social handicap, and like how short we are, or like how few words we use. I don't know the word for that in English, but yeah, that's a sense of humor that I really appreciate, and it's kind of like self-deprecating humor in a sense, because I can relate to being a Swedish person, and yeah, I'm definitely all of those things. Socially awkward and a fear of conflict. Hello. The third book that I thought of is Transcription by Kate Atkinson, which is historical fiction about a sort of secretary person turned agent during the Second World War in Britain, and it's supposed to be funny. That combination sounds very intriguing to me, and it's a book that I'm excited to read because of its sense of humor as well. I think these three are going to be quite different in the sense of humor that they have, but I'm hoping I will find them all funny. What is a book that excites you because of its challenge or difficulty? Let me see if I can find it.
The Bear Woman, written by Ocean Hilfon, narrated by Anne Harrod Price, published by Monkey Nut Audiobook.
What?
You are narrated by Anne Harrod Price,
Anne
published
Harrod?
by Monkey Nut Audiobook.
How to say Anne Harrod? Anne Harrod. How to say Anne Harrod?
Let's break down the pronunciation.
Well, you're not freaking speaking English even, so...
Angharad.
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 Okay, that'll have to do. It would be a difficult challenge for me to read a really long book, but that doesn't really excite me. I feel like I would get bored, and I'm not really looking for a challenge in that way in my reading. I just want to... I want it to bring me joy. But a book that I'm excited about reading, that I think is also going to be difficult and challenging because of its content, is a book that I heard Ben talk about at Ben Reads Good, and that is The Mare by Angharad Hampshire. And this is a novel based on a true story. It's about a woman who was on the German side during the Second World War, and she was called the Mare because she liked to kick people to death. After the war, she got out of Germany and moved to the US, I think. I'm not sure if that's the case in the true story or if it's just in the novel, but I think that's what happens in the novel, and she just went on to live this like normal suburban life. No one knew about her past, and then a journalist came knocking one day and sort of exposed her story. I think it's going to be a challenging read because of the setting of the Second World War, obviously, and that is always challenging. And then I think it's also going to be challenging to read this particular story because of the main character or person that this is based on. Her actions were obviously horrible. but I think that they sound even more horrible because she was a woman, and that balance I think is going to be challenging for me to read about. I don't think it's going to be a fun read necessarily, but I found it very intriguing and I've never read anything like that before, so I am excited to get to that one eventually. And the last thing is to tag some people that you would like to see do this tag, and I would like to hear from Melinda at A Web of Stories, Nicky at My Messy Bookshelf, Mariandrea at Books and Bocadillos, Laura at Laura Reads, Melanie at A Dark Corner of the Library, Bonnie at Bonnie Nicole Writes, Kass at The Modern Bookwoman, Suey at Suey's Book Banter, Laura at The Book Hermit, Maeve at Maeve Ever Books, Gina at The Library Mouse Gina, and Heather at Heather Reads. I would love to know what books you're excited to read for any kinds of reasons, either in a video or in a comment. I'm very curious to know. I hope you found some new recommendations or, ideas for books to look up. I haven't read any of these, obviously, so I don't know if they're good or not, but yeah, let me know what you're excited to read and we can, give each other some suggestions on books that might be really great. That's it for this video, and so I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. If you haven't been tagged but you want to do this tag, please go ahead and do this tag.